Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the IAM Podcast. I am Mariah, your host. And before anything else, I would like to greet our Israeli friends a blessed Yom Kippur, wishing you and your loved ones a day full of meaning, healing, mercy, and hope. To all our Indian friends, happy Dussehra. I pray that the color, the bliss, and the beauty of the festival be with you through the year. Before we get started, I would like to give a quick shout out to all our listeners in Israel, in the United States, in my home country, Philippines, Australia, India, Germany, United Kingdom, Italy, Ireland, Canada, Japan, Brazil, France, Spain, Switzerland, Netherlands, Russia, Bulgaria, Finland, Cyprus, Sweden, Nigeria, Argentina, Nepal, Peru, and Lithuania. We are all over the world. Thank you for making it a habit to listen to us, to learn with us. Thank you so much for all your love and support. I really hope I meet you guys and speak with you. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. Ping me on LinkedIn, Mariah Quizon, and don't forget to follow our LinkedIn page. Stay safe. Love you guys.
Let's imagine you're a young sales guy or a young business developer, and you want to hone your skills. You don't really know if your message is your sales prospecting message is all right, or you might want help in any way. And then you target people, more experienced people in the sales industry, and you just ask, hey, first name, I've seen you have quite some experience in the field of sales. I was wondering what you think are the top 3 qualities or the top 3 skills or anything. And people are super happy to help you. They will answer in details. They will offer some help.
Welcome to our series entitled the IAM Podcast, a podcast about innovation, business, and most importantly, people. In this series, we'll be talking to founders, executives, and various experts about their vision, challenges, best practices, and lessons learned throughout their journey. Let's get started. Guillaume Portalier, the co-founder and the COO of Waalaxy. Before anything else, I would love to ask you, how are you? How's France? Tell me about yourself.
I'm doing great, thank you. It's always, in entrepreneurship, you obviously have ups and downs, and sometimes you feel like the house is burning, and in a way, this is kind of where we are now. But overall, I think I'm doing okay.
Okay, I'm so glad to meet you. And by the way, guys, we met on LinkedIn, and it's actually your first time talking. So this is really unplanned, unscripted, and everything. Okay, so I'm very interested to your journey, right? So first, Waalaxy. How did this idea come about? I mean, coming from what pain?
So we actually started the company 3 years ago, and our first product, so kind of the predecessor to Waalaxy, was called Prospecting. And before Prospecting, I was working with 3 friends on a project that was totally different. The idea, so we were 4 co-founders, 2 technical guys, so developers, and 2 business guys. And we were working on a project whose goal was to help camps business owners to communicate with the guests, basically, because we're located in the south of France, and you have lots of camp here in south of France. And we've made pretty much all the entrepreneur mistakes, at least first-time entrepreneur mistakes that you can make when launching a project. So not talking to your typical customer, thinking you have the best idea in the world, adding as many features to your product as you can, even though there's not a single feature that actually works. And one of those mistakes, was to try to automate our LinkedIn prospecting, because at the time we were prospecting manually on LinkedIn to try to sell the product to Cam's business owner that we would find on LinkedIn. And we figured this task was quite tedious and took us lots of time and was very boring. And as we were quite technical, we thought, oh, okay, there must be a way to automate this process easily. And so in a matter of like a few weeks, we've developed a tool only for us at the beginning that allowed us to automate our LinkedIn prospecting. And we talked about this small internal tool to our friends and entrepreneur in our entrepreneur network, sort of. And it was funny because we realized that there might be an opportunity to continue to work 100% to develop this product, basically, so the prospecting tool. And so that's when we decided to pivot and ditch the previous project on Camps. And so we started the product over again from scratch, this time having in mind that we wanted to sell it. So to distribute it, we used the Google Chrome store. So it was an extension, Chrome extension. It still is a Chrome extension. And so that's how prospecting came into life in September 2019. And so at the time we were 6. We had 2 interns as well. And from there it went kind of crazy because in a matter of like 8 months we went from 0 to $1 million in ARR, which is kind of crazy. We were still being 6 people, and we're very lucky with COVID, because COVID hit in March 2020, and at this time we weren't sure what would happen with prospecting. And it turns out that this helped the growth a lot because, at this time, people still needed to conduct business, but they were not able to do this on site. So somehow they needed a way to do it remotely. And so people turned to LinkedIn, and then they turned to digital products. And we had the chance to have exactly the right product for them at this time, and so we had loads of referrals, and it grew very, very quickly from there. And almost a year after, we had like 50,000 active users, and that's where we realized that the tool was very hard to maintain, and it was also very hard to add new features because it was not technically speaking, it was not meant to have so many users. We did not anticipate all the growth and all those users coming in. So we had once again to start all over from scratch, and that's when Waalaxy came into life.
Oh, wow. Okay. So thank you for that. Well, I would like to say I myself had or experienced that difficulty, connecting to 100 people per day, right? You said it right. It's so time consuming and it's so repetitive, like mundane. So mundane. Yeah, it's a pain. Okay. Okay, that's why you decide to build prospecting. And then you said 0 to 1 million. A while ago you were saying mistakes, like beginner mistakes, right? What do you think, what have you done differently? Why were you able to, like, from 0 to 1 million?
Yeah, so we had the chance to have faced a huge, I would say, failure with our first project, and we kind of overlearned from that period, and we basically took the opposite direction. So for example, in our first project, we would have demos and calls to sell the product, even though it wasn't really finished. And we would push very hard to, so that people accept that we provide them demos. And it was horrible. After only like 2 or 3 demos, I would feel exhausted and I would like to go home. And so this time we thought, okay, we're not going to provide any demos. We will have tutorial videos on YouTube with subtitles available, and people would onboard themselves. They would learn how to use the platform themselves. So obviously this meant that the platform would need to be super easy to use. And also we invested quite a lot of effort into the customer support. So we have a chat, an instant chat, and you can contact us anytime. We'll reply in less than 5 minutes, and we have a super efficient team. So this is also an aspect. And I would say that we try to, so when we started prospecting, we tried to launch the product as rapidly as we could, even though it meant launching the product even though it wasn't kind of ready. So it only had a few features, but those features worked. And this is the big difference with our first project, where we had like dozens of features, but none of them really worked. This time we started with a very simple product. You could only import, prospect, and send invites and messages. That's all. And then from there, we've built a product, but this time speaking to clients and users on a daily basis. And so kind of co-constructing, co-building the platform. I think this is one of the reasons why why the product replied so well to this problem, because we took customer feedback from very early on.
Okay, wow, nice. So how did you get those feedback? I mean, did you build a community, or did you do cold emailing, or how?
Yeah, so we had two main channels to get this feedback. The first one was using the chat. So until we were at 1 million in ARR, I or my co-founder was doing the customer support, so all day long. It was a full-time job. So we were speaking to hundreds of clients and users per day. So you have a sort of a direct feedback. And then we also used our own tool to automatically send invites and messages to our users based on certain events. So for example, for us, you have different steps that you need to take in order to see the value of the product. The very first step, once you've downloaded the tool, is to import prospects or contacts from LinkedIn into the platform. So that's the very first step. And the second step is to send or to use the tool to send an action to those prospects. So for example, to send them an invitation to connect on LinkedIn. And what we would do is we would automatically identify the people who've downloaded the tool but who did not yet imported any prospects, or imported prospects but did not send any action. And we would automatically send them a message or an invite on LinkedIn saying, hey, I've seen that you've downloaded Waalaxy a couple of days ago, but you still did not import any prospects. And all of that was 100% automated. And it was quite powerful, I would say, to get feedback and help our users activate on the platform.
Wow, the power of automation. Okay, technology. And you said, okay, 0 to 1 million, you have 50,000 active users. Who are using your product?
Yeah, so when I explain what Waalaxy does, I tend to say that Waalaxy is a sales prospecting tool. But what Waalaxy is a tool that allows to contact people both on LinkedIn and via email. And so you have an almost infinite number of use cases, because you might want to contact people to indeed sell something, your product, your service, or anything. But you might also want to contact people to hire them, or to look for a job, look for an internship, you want to expand your network or ask questions to people. This is, because we are our very first users, so we tend to see all those use cases that Waalaxy can be used for. And usually people have a very narrow vision of what you can do with the tool, but it turns out that you might do loads of unconventional things, such as asking questions to people. It's kind of crazy to see how people are happy and ready to help you when you ask for help, and when you value their skills. Basically, you can contact, I don't know, let's imagine you're a young sales guy or a young business developer, and you want to hone your skills. You don't really know if your message is your sales prospecting message is all right, or you might want help in any way, and then you target people, more experienced people in the sales industry, and you just ask, hey, first name, I've seen you have quite some experience in the field of sales. I was wondering what you think are the top 3 qualities or the top 3 skills or anything, and people are super happy to help you. They will answer in details. They will offer some help. All of that to say that we have a very wide range of users and customers. Obviously, recruiters, salespeople, business developers, small business owners, but we also have students, accountants, lawyers, basically really anything.
Yeah, I love that. So before, it's just a job site, right? Like where you look for jobs and things like that. But now it's like a community. LinkedIn is like a community. You can connect, you can ask questions, you can get insights, inspirations, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's sort of it. We tend to see LinkedIn as a monstrous, like absolute huge database, a B2B database where people enter precise details about them. So, where they work, in which industry, how many years of experience they have, what they are interested in, etc. So you can really segment people based on especially the Sales Navigator search feature, and from there you can do anything you want. Might be selling something, hiring someone, conducting market studies to know if your ID has any potential.
Exactly. Unlimited.
Sky
Yes.
the limit.
Sky's
Unlimited.
the limit to what you can do on LinkedIn. And speaking of LinkedIn, the sales navigator, right? So you can also filter, you can send messages, you can do a lot of things. So how is Waalaxy different from sales navigator?
It's actually not different. It works in conjunction with the Sales Navigator. So the Sales Navigator is a search feature. It's basically an advanced search feature for LinkedIn, and so we, Waalaxy, exploit the LinkedIn database. And if you want to search for people, you need to search for people on LinkedIn, so on using the Sales Navigator. The problem is, once you have your list of, let's say, 2,000 people that you want to contact and you're on the Sales Navigator, you can't really automate this process. So maybe if you're patient enough, you can invite people manually, but even then, you won't be able to automatically follow up with them, sending them a message when they accept your invites. So it's not really convenient. And so the idea of Waalaxy is to, once you have this list of 2,000 people, you import it into Waalaxy, and from there you create your campaigns and you automatically invite them, but then also you follow up on them automatically with a series of messages. You can also retrieve their professional email and send them email if you want to. So yeah, it's really two different things, but they work in conjunction, and we almost always tell people that if they want to maximize their use of Waalaxy, they need a Sales Navigator subscription as well.
So it works in conjunction with the Sales Navigator. And you said it's a promise. It's safe, right? Like to send more than 100.
Yeah, so it's not actually safe to send more than 100 invites per day. People need to be aware that they are limits on LinkedIn, and you don't want to exceed those limits. Otherwise, LinkedIn simply blocks your account. So what we've done is we tested lots of different things internally by creating accounts and seeing, trying to reverse engineer the LinkedIn algorithm basically. And we figured that, and we ended up with a certain range of quotas, daily quotas for different types of actions. So for example, you can send a maximum of 100 invites per day, but you can send up to 150 messages. You can follow 100 profiles, but you can visit around 150 profiles per day. And so we automatically limit the number of actions you can perform on any given day to make sure that your account remains safe.
Okay, good thing you mentioned that. And well, I just remembered what you said, the messaging, the message box is so cluttered, right? You cannot really see or you cannot track your conversation unless you go to the specific conversation. Do you understand me? Yeah, but when you look, oh my God, where's that last conversation? You have to really find it out or search it.
Yeah, the LinkedIn messaging is a nightmare, and that's something we are working on currently, and we're about to release a feature that will basically emulate the LinkedIn messaging, but with a much nicer interface and also more features, especially around the possibility to tag prospects, send them follow-up, predefined messages, but in the future, reminder, so you can snooze conversation for later, for example, using saved replies. If you tend to, if you do lots of sales prospecting on LinkedIn, usually you'll have almost always the same questions that prospects will ask to you, and then instead of copy pasting for every individual, you will simply have the saved reply.
Oh, like a template.
And you will be able to access it very rapidly. Yeah, sort of, and also using variables such as first name, last name, for example. So this is a huge time saver.
Okay, we are gonna be following that. And yes, from 0 to 1 million, and now you said 0 to 6 million. So we're interested, what did you double down? What did you leverage? How did you get to that? Please share.
Yeah, so we've doubled down on the customer experience, both within the product, so always trying to offer the simplest tool possible, and also on the customer support. As I was telling you earlier, we try to, even though the number of users was increasing, we try to always offer a response in less than 5 minutes, a very qualified one, very precise, and trying to always bring more than that the user was actually looking for. So you were going to chat support asking for a question, and you would go with an answer to your question and even a tip as to how you could improve your campaign, for example. So double down on the customer experience, and also the content creation. So one big component of our customer acquisition is all centered around content. So we create a lot of content on LinkedIn, and we also have a blog on which we're quite good in SEO. It represents around 20% of our acquisition now, and so yeah, we have a blog with close to 200,000 visitors per month.
Wow.
And so this helps spread the word about the products. And yeah, and obviously we still have lots of referrals. So I think this is still a very powerful driver of our growth. And finally, what we've managed to do is when we transitioned from prospecting to Waalaxy, we actually added another plan. And so on prospecting, where you would be able to only do prospecting on LinkedIn, on Waalaxy you can actually do also email. So you have the possibility to retrieve the professional email of your prospect and then to send them an email and use multi-channel sequences. And so we sold that plan to a higher price, basically. So we moved our client base up in the price range, and this helped us grow the business quite a lot.
Wow, yes, tremendous. Okay, so do you recommend multi-channel prospecting? Because some people say, okay, just focus on one platform and be strong at that platform.
Yeah, I would say, why not mixing LinkedIn and email? But I would say first, so LinkedIn is easier to use because when the copywriting skills that are required for email prospecting, I think, are a bit higher. So I would say overall it's easier to use only LinkedIn to start, and you don't need to use absolutely the email. You can have tremendous results only on LinkedIn. But so I would say if you're a beginner in the field, LinkedIn is way more than enough. But when you'll move from beginner to intermediate to expert, you will want to add another component that will be especially useful to contact the people that don't accept your invites on LinkedIn. Because in order to send messages on LinkedIn, you have to send an invitation first, and people need to accept this invitation before you can actually send them. Exactly. And with the email finder feature, you can retrieve the professional email of your prospects, so that even though they don't accept your invite, you can get their email and then send them an email, and so contact them in another platform. So I would say it's in this case it's interesting, and also doing email prospecting is a bit more complicated, not only in terms of copywriting skills, but in terms of setup, because you have sort of a DNS setup to set up to optimize the deliverability rate of your emails, basically to make sure that your emails don't go into the spam folder. And so this can be a bit tricky, especially if you're not someone really into technology.
Yeah, for the beginners. But yeah, you said it right. Like LinkedIn is like gold. You can do a lot when you're just starting. Okay, wow. Almost last 5 minutes? Okay. Well, lessons learned. Can you tell us or share with us one crazy story or one tough story that happened to you or since you become an entrepreneur?
Yeah, lessons learned. It's hard to pick one because there are so many. But I think going back to the beginning, really one of our biggest lesson is that you should focus. I mean, for us, you should focus on products before anything else, especially if you're a product-led growth in opposition to sales-led growth. So basically, if you're in a company where the product does all the sale, you need to invest all your energy into the product. And also one other component is it's always easier to grow a business where you're your first user and where your product actually replies to one of your pain, and not the pain of someone else. So I would say this is the biggest lessons we've learned in the last 3 years.
If you're going to add up something after your name, like I'm Guillaume, your blank founder, what would that be? Or how do you want to be known for?
That's, I would say, inexperienced founder. I'm 28 years old, so I still have lots to learn.
Wow, yes, we are forever learners. I mean, learning never ends. Okay, but yes, a lot to learn and a lot to celebrate. Okay, thank you, Guillaume, and all the best to Waalaxy.
Thanks a lot. It was a pleasure.
This podcast is powered by IAMOps.io. Optimize your cloud infrastructure and CI/CD process with IAMOps.io dedicated DevOps team. Check out www.iamops.io and get a DevOps team